First insult cut through the humid air like a bullet, sharp, mocking, and far too public to ignore. "Who the hell is she?" The voice came from somewhere near the front row of the training range, laced with that peculiar blend of arrogance and disbelief that only men afraid of being outdone could summon. Every head turned. Dust hung suspended in the heat, shimmering over the stretch of baked earth where a row of Navy SEALs stood in silence. Their rifles hung low, their eyes tracing the slim figure walking toward the firing line. She moved like she didn't hear them, or perhaps like she had heard it all before. The sun carved a golden edge along her cheek, catching the faint scar that ran just under her eye. Her name was Lieutenant Riley Shaw, though few here seemed to care. What mattered in this particular moment was that she wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this place, not in this company, and certainly not with the legend watching her from behind mirrored sunglasses. Commander Nathan Hale, the sniper who trained half the men now doubting her. Riley adjusted the rifle strap over her shoulder, fingers steady despite the heat. Her heartbeat was slow, deliberate, like a metronome of control. Hale's gaze followed her. He said nothing, the others did. "She's special ops." One man whispered to another. "Must be a PR stunt. No woman's ever cleared Hale's mark." The murmurs rippled, low and poisonous, until silence fell again. Hale raised his hand toward the target range, 600 meters of wind, heat, and mirage, the kind of shot that decided careers. Riley crouched, the stock of the rifle pressed against her shoulder with a familiar weight. A single breath filled her lungs, dry, metallic, thick with the scent of oil and dust. Then she exhaled. Somewhere behind her a man chuckled. She fired. The bullet vanished into the distance. For a heartbeat nothing moved. Then the red flag on the far target trembled once and fell. Dead center. Silence, and then disbelief. No one spoke, but every face said the same thing. Luck. But Hale's lips twitched. Not in surprise, in memory. He had seen that precision once before. Years ago, in the burnt hills of Marja, when the desert reeked of diesel and blood, and a team was pinned under sniper fire. Hale had been younger then, more stubborn, bleeding from his side, trying to return fire from a rooftop. He'd never seen who saved them that night, the shooter who took out the Taliban marksman from nearly a mile away. All he remembered was a faint radio whisper, "Target down, you're clear." He'd asked command who it was. They never told him. Classified, they said. Now, watching Riley, the memory clicked into place like a locked bolt. But he said nothing. He just nodded once, a signal, unspoken and final. The men stared. Riley stood. Her expression didn't shift. The line of her jaw, the steadiness of her hands, they all spoke the same silent truth. She didn't need their approval. Still, that didn't stop them from trying to break her. Over the next days, the base became a stage of quiet hostility. Her locker was found half open, her gear misplaced, her seat at the mess hall always mysteriously taken. She ate alone, always with her back to the wall, and yet she never raised her voice, never complained. She simply showed up before dawn, trained twice as hard, and left after everyone else. There was something haunting about her silence, not defiant, not proud, but heavy, like someone carrying ghosts she refused to speak of. One evening, while the others laughed under the floodlights, Hale found her alone on the range. The desert wind whistled against the tin of the observation post. Riley was lying prone again, eyes locked on a target invisible in the dusk. "Trying to beat your own record?" Hale asked. She didn't answer right away, then quietly trying to silence the noise. He didn't ask what she meant. He didn't need to. He'd seen that look before, in soldiers who had watched friends die, in those who had survived too long to call it victory. Her file had been thin, suspiciously so, But Hale knew what that meant. Black ops, missions without recognition, success without ceremony, and yet the men still whispered, "She's here because Hale wants to make a statement. She's protected, probably someone's favorite experiment. She can't last." By the end of the week, the test came, a final exercise, a simulated hostage rescue under live conditions. Riley was assigned to lead. Her team, all men, didn't like that. When the chopper landed in the mock village, they followed her in with cold professionalism and colder loyalty. They didn't cover her properly, didn't relay positions, didn't call targets. Small mistakes, small enough to look unintentional. She noticed, she said nothing. When the ambush hit, she moved fast, too fast for the others to process. Her rifle barked once, then twice. Within seconds, 3 silhouettes fell in the dust. The men stared at her. Why? Died. "Stay low," she whispered. It wasn't a command. It was instinct, raw and calm, like she had said it 1,000 times before in real battles, not training drills. The rest of the mission unfolded with precision she shouldn't have been capable of unless she had done it before. By the time they reached the extraction point, the evaluators were already murmuring. She'd not only completed the mission, she'd outperformed Hale's own benchmark. Back at base, she walked past the murmurs, the sidelong glances. She knew what came next: doubt, speculation, resentment. Victory rarely softened cruelty. That night, in the barracks, someone left a note on her cot. Just 4 words, scrawled in anger. "Prove you belong here." She didn't tear it up. She folded it neatly and placed it under her rifle case. In the following days, things escalated. Equipment went missing again. The whispers grew. Until one morning, she walked into the training field and found a crowd gathered around a new arrival, General Armitage, a man known for his disdain for inclusivity experiments. He called her out in front of everyone. "A Navy SEAL is not a symbol. It's a title earned in blood, and I don't recall you shedding any for this team." No one moved. Even Hale stayed silent, jaw tight. Riley looked at the man. Her eyes were dark, unreadable. She didn't argue. She didn't explain. Instead, she reached for the rifle on the table. It was Hale's, his old sniper rifle, retired from combat years ago. "Permission to demonstrate, sir," she said softly. Armitage laughed. What could you possibly? But she had already moved to the firing line. The range stretched farther than regulation. Wind cutting left. Mirage dancing in the heat. A target barely visible at the horizon. Over 1,000 meters. Every man on that field knew the math. That shot was near impossible under these conditions. Riley lay down. She didn't ask for silence. She didn't need it. The world already knew better than to interrupt. Her breath steadied. The old rhythm returned. Inhale, count, exhale. In that suspended moment, everything faded. The insults, the politics, the years she'd been invisible. She remembered another desert, another rifle, another impossible shot. The night Hale had been bleeding on a rooftop, unaware that a woman he'd never met had saved his life. The same shot, the same distance. She fired. For a moment no one breathed. Then, far beyond the visible line, the small white disc flipped. A perfect hit. Dead center. The crowd erupted, but she stayed still. Hale took off his sunglasses. His eyes, sharp, weary, and suddenly human, met hers. "Who the hell is she?" Someone whispered again, this time not in mockery but awe. Hale answered, his voice quiet, reverent. "She's the one who saved my life." It wasn't a statement. It was a confession. The men turned toward her. For the first time, their silence wasn't contempt. It was respect. Heavy, humbled, real. Armitage stood frozen. His authority, built on bluster, cracked under the weight of truth. Riley rose, dusting off her uniform. The rifle hung loosely at her side. She looked neither proud nor angry, only tired, like someone who had finally finished a burden too long carried. "Then," she said, almost to herself, "Some battles don't need medals, just witnesses." The words settled over the field like scripture. No one dared to respond. Hale stepped forward. Slowly, he saluted her. The gesture rippled through the ranks, one by one. Every soldier followed. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. There were no cheers, no applause, just the sound of quiet respect, the kind earned, not granted. Later, as the sun bled out behind the hills, Riley stood alone by the edge of the range. Her fingers brushed the rifle's worn grip, tracing the initials carved into the metal R.S., faint but indelible. Hale approached, stopping beside her. Neither spoke for a while. Finally he said, "You could have told them who you were." "I didn't need to," she replied. "They needed to see." He nodded. "They saw." She smiled faintly. "That's enough." When she left the base weeks later, no ceremony marked her departure. She walked out the same way she'd arrived, quiet, composed, anonymous. But stories have a way of surviving silence. Months later, during a training lecture, recruits would whisper about the unknown SEAL. Some said she was a myth. Others swore Hale still kept her file locked in his desk. And sometimes, when a trainee doubted his worth, Hale would point toward the distant target range and say only, "Respect doesn't shout. It proves." Her story spread like wildfire through the ranks, not because of glory, but because of grace. The phrase, "Who the hell is she?" became a kind of code, a reminder that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who already changed history. Years later, in a memorial ceremony for fallen operators, a single bullet casing was placed on the podium beside Hale's nameplate. No one knew who left it, but inside the rim, etched so faintly it could barely be seen, were the words, "For those who stayed unseen." And when the sun dipped behind the flag that evening, the light caught the casing, and for a fleeting second it glowed golden amber over midnight blue. Riley Shaw was never seen again, not in photos, not in headlines, but across bases, ranges, and classrooms, her story became a living whisper. Some said she taught men humility. Others said she taught them silence. The truth was simpler. She taught them that power doesn't need permission, it just needs purpose. And somewhere, far away from the noise of the world, a woman sat by a quiet lake, rifle across her knees, wind brushing against her hair. She smiled faintly at the reflection of the sunset in the water. The same colors she'd worn on her uniform, the same hues that once framed her final shot. Because some legends don't retire, they fade into stillness and let the echoes speak for them. If you're still here, listening, remember this, respect the unseen. Honor the unheard, and when someone asks, "Who the hell is she?" you'll know the answer. She's every silent warrior who never needed to be seen to change everything.